Welcome to Coffee with Congress, a new podcast by the Veterans Education Project, where we truly get to know members of Congress and key government officials. Every episode, we ask questions that have absolutely nothing to do with politics, policy, or legislation.
Yeah, nothing to do with their actual jobs. So instead, we focus on getting to know the real person behind the office. In this episode, we meet with Congressman Kelly Armstrong. He's a Republican and represents North Dakota. All right, so we'll just start, easy North Dakota question. You guys are the number one producer of honey in the country.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I feel like as an expert then about honey, we put honey on lots of things, toast, Cheerios. What's something we're not putting honey on that we need to really up our game? Maybe North Dakota has something you guys are already doing that we're not catching up on.
I put it on peanut butter sandwiches.
On a peanut butter and honey sandwich?
Also, the fun thing about honey is it's the only food without an expiration date.
Oh,
it doesn't.
I didn't know that. I throw away honey all the time.
You really?
I'm an idiot.
You've been messing
I've been
up
wasting bears of honey.
Our honey's a lot like some of our older crowd with a little bit of money. Our bees winter in California for the most part.
Wait, what? You get out of here.
Well, bees don't survive in the ditch in the right of way in a bee farm in the middle of January in North Dakota. So we got a lot of people that winter in Arizona, winter in Florida, and our bees primarily winter in California.
I did not know that. So you guys produce the most honey, but I didn't think about the fact that you have a brutal winter. So it's a very small window that you're producing honey out of. That's impressive.
Yeah, and it's actually, one of the reasons is because we have a ton of flowering crop. It's just we have a lot of natural flowering flowers, but we also have a bunch of flowering crops. Yeah, they migrate in the back of a pickup.
I know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I like it.
I like that too. All right, well, that's some good info. I did not know that about the migrating bees of North Dakota.
You know what? When I was a Boy Scout, I got my beekeeping merit badge.
Did you?
I did. Yeah.
Who was your counselor for that?
I don't remember.
So one of the reasons North Dakota is good at honey is because we have pretty liberal right-of-way laws, so they can put their bee farms in there. So we also have the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally in South Dakota that goes on. So sometimes you'll get some complaints from motorcycle riders that the bee farms are too close to the highways.
Really? They're just attacking the riders?
Not so much attacking, but they make a pretty good splatter on either a window visor, or
is that like a rivalry point of South Dakota and North Dakota? Like the South Dakota's like, we just want to ride motorcycles.
There's not really any rivalry.
No,
South Dakota. Everybody knows who's better.
So now we had a really fun interview with your colleague
Dusty Johnston.
Dusty.
I doubt that.
And we'll get into it soon here, but he had some very interesting nicknames. So we're gonna ask you that question.
Yeah,
here.
for sure.
For himself or for North Dakota?
No, for himself. Yeah. Okay, so you're going to help me out on this. Some of these things I don't know how to pronounce. I'm going to need you to jump in for me, sir. So Lake Sakakawea.
So what did you just say?
Yeah. Lake Sakakawea.
Was that an insult?
Yeah, I feel offended. So Lake Sakakawea. One more time.
Lake Sakakawea.
Sakakawea has more shoreline than California.
Yes.
Which that's a wild thing.
That is
wild. So now, I don't know if you know this, South Dakota, beach bums, all of them. They're all just big beach bums.
They have a lot of shoreline.
Yeah, they have
it's 200 miles long by 10 miles wide. It's a huge lake. I've been on it my whole life. My parents had a cabin up there when I grew up, and I try and spend as many days up there in the weekend as well.
So as an expert on beaches, as a beach bum yourself, if a shark shows up to attack you in Lake Sakakawea, what are you using to defend yourself, and what's your strategy for survival?
Right. Okay,
First of all, I wonder why there's a shark in fresh water.
Don't think about it. Don't think about it too hard.
No. You're on a boat, and all of a sudden you see jaws.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your strategy?
I probably use a flare gun. Because I think it's the only gun. We have a lot of guns in North Dakota.
Right.
Don't carry a lot of guns on boats.
For a
lot of reasons. Quite frankly, you're more worried about a rattlesnake swimming into your boat on the
pirates. Okay. There could be pirates.
The South Dakotan North Dakota pirates.
Probably utilize a flare gun.
Flare gun. Now, would it be a flare gun for help, or would it be you would shoot it at the shark?
That's a good question.
I hope my boat could outrun the shark, but it depends. If I'm on a little rear tiller fishing boat, we might not be there. But we don't ask for help. We defend ourselves. We don't ask for help. We don't ask for directions.
I like that.
Okay.
All right. So here goes. I'm gonna get. Actually, I want you to jump in here because I got a couple weather questions I want to batch together. So I want you to jump in.
Okay. So he is the guy with the fun questions. I have some more introspective questions.
Sure.
Because I'm smart and he's funny. That's how this relationship works. Okay.
All right.
Okay, so we'll warm up with some interesting things. All right, so what gift or purchase of $100 or less has impacted your life the most, and why?
Probably the first bow and arrow I got from my dad was like not really a toy, but like the kind of the cross between the toy and the real bow.
Right. Tell us about this. You a bow hunter? You a bow guy?
I spent my entire childhood in the Badlands with a stick and a string, but I think mostly the reason it impacted me is because it really enhanced the father-son relationship between me and my dad. Because
that's really cool, man.
When you spend all day, all fall, and all fall hunting with anybody, you turn into hunting buddies as much as you do father-son, and so we still argue and fight with each other, but spent a lot of time growing up with my dad in the Badlands, so that probably impacted me more than anything
Would
else.
you be offended if any time I see you from now on, I just refer to you as Robin Hood?
No.
That's a good nickname.
Running for Congress definitely decreases your accuracy of the bow and arrow. I haven't had mine out of the case in over a year.
A lot of people in our age bracket, really are interested in routines and kind of what sets up a person every day for success. What does the first 60 minutes to 2 hours of your day look like? Do you have any kind of routines, any morning rituals, anything that you believe is kind of like the thing that sets you up to get ready to do what you do best?
One word: coffee.
Coffee, gotcha. Okay.
I don't eat breakfast. I was a wrestler growing up, so you were always very conscious.
Of course he was.
I love breakfast, but I need to be awake for like 3 hours before I go to some greasy spoon diner and eat eggs and bacon and toast. So I wake up in the morning.
How do you take it?
Black.
That's how we take it.
Shower, get dressed, have a cup of coffee, and walk to work when I'm in D.C. and drive to work.
What time you're early riser? What time you?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a 2-hour time difference between D.C. and North Dakota, so I'm a really early riser in North Dakota now.
Okay.
Less so here, but I usually get up pretty early. I read the paper on my phone, but always read the North Dakota pages or North Dakota papers first. Usually check the sports page first. I'm an ex-baseball coach. Dual reason for that. One, I want to check on how our local teams are doing, and two, because it's the only place in the paper where you usually read about accomplishments instead of problems.
So I was noticing these baseball bats, and for those in the podcast nation, there's some cool baseball bats in his office, and I was wondering if that was for the muscle, because you have to give someone a hard proposition.
There's tremendous amount of security at the Capitol. I, however, I am under no illusions. The vast majority of the security guards don't know who I am yet. So I would again, we don't ask for help. We don't ask for directions.
Right.
So if something crazy happens, I would at least like to have something resembling. I can't fight my way out of a wet paper bag, so we should probably have something that we can deal with.
Fair enough.
There's baseball bats everywhere. You're a Baseball Hall of Fame inductee of the American Legion. You're apparently a coach. You need to explain the Republicans' loss. I mean, it wasn't just a loss. That was pretty rough. What happened?
They're better. Baseball's pretty simple. It doesn't matter what level you're at. Throw strikes and take care of the ball. They did a better job of that than we did. So I hope I'm not criticizing too many people, but range on a baseball field needs to be farther than you can spread your arms. They move around.
Your colleagues are as agile as you want.
They are not as agile as you are.
All right, great. I like that. Okay, so some of the coldest temperatures on record, and actually some of the hottest temperatures on record, are all in North Dakota.
Yep.
They have a 123-degree day, and they've had a negative 70-something degree day. It's insane. So I just want to talk. Let's focus on the cold, because that's North Dakota's thing. So what are the tricks? How do you stay warm? What are you doing?
We have 3 winter coats in North Dakota. You have a winter coat just because you have one. You have another winter coat because, okay, now it's getting cold. And then you have a 3rd winter coat with, my God, I can't believe people live here.
The hubris of man.
There is, when it gets really, really cold, we wear it as a badge of honor in North Dakota. But the short answer is you can't really prepare for it. Although I have gone pheasant hunting when it's been 23 below with a 20-mile-an-hour wind chill.
I have never experienced weather that
you spend a lot of time indoors and a lot of time in heated cars.
How many layers are we talking?
Well, that's the other thing, and this is actually, my wife's from Norway, so there's a Norwegian line that I've co-opted for North Dakota, and there's no such thing as cold weather. It's just bad clothing. So,
I like that.
I mean, you wear everything you can. So merino wool is always good underneath.
Okay.
Through all the technology and everything in the world, wool is still as good as anything to put on underneath.
It is.
Anything with goose down is definitely good. You want to make sure your coat's long enough so you don't have any space when you're moving around and sitting.
I'm learning so much right now. I feel like as a Marylander, we have cold weather, but I feel
it's nothing.
I feel like a rookie compared to what this guy's laying down.
Yeah.
Scarves and hats. When it's that cold, you need to cover just about everything.
Now, do you own one of those bomber hats that goes down like?
Absolutely.
Yes. We want pictures of that. We'll post that.
I have had those. Those are very warm, and they're great when you're sitting in a ground blind or a tree stand when it's cold out.
I like that.
Are you? I mean, you've mentioned hunting multiple times. What's your main? What do you love to hunt the most?
All of it.
All of it.
Pheasants. I love to bow hunt whitetails, but I like pheasants.
What do you like to eat the most?
Elk or moose is probably my favorite.
Yeah.
But I like. If you can chase it with a dog and a shotgun, I like it. If you can chase it with a stick and a string, I like it. If there's a coyote standing 800 yards out in the field, there will be a pickup pulled over on the side of a gravel road, and we'll be trying to kill a coyote. It's just kind of how we roll out in North Dakota.
Love it.
I've always said you can take a kid from a city and bring him out to western North Dakota, but you can't. If you've ever been trying to circle around a coyote in a stubble field, that's a kind of fun that you don't understand unless you grew up where we're at. So.
All right. So I was talking to a good friend of mine. He's from Fargo, and he was telling me, he said this is a conversation that he thinks a congressman will understand. So you can fill in the blanks. If you feel like you want to jump into this role play, you can do it. So he says a North Dakotan doesn't know happiness until there's a storm a brewing. So he says this will be a common thing you'll hear at the hardware store. Oh yeah, the forecast says there's going to be some storms tonight. Oh yeah? You betcha. Well, how about that? So my question is, what is it about storms in North Dakotans?
Well, this is when you talk about weather extremes. So we don't.
Oh yeah.
We don't have a lot of you betchas dare haze going on in North Dakota. There's some. Most people say I get told the only time I have a North Dakota accent is when I say North Dakota, but. We have summer and winter. So one of the biggest misconceptions about North Dakota is people think it's cold all the time. Well, it was hotter in North Dakota this weekend than it was in D.C.
Right.
We just don't have much of a spring and a fall.
Right.
But when you have those extreme temperatures, you always have the potential for storms. And in the summer, it's hail and severe thunderstorms, and oftentimes, sometimes tornadoes. So you have to pay attention. And when you make your living growing stuff out of the ground, hail and tornadoes can cause you a lot of problems. And in the winter, it's literally a matter of life and death sometimes to pay attention to the weather. I mean, when it's 55 degrees below, you better be prepared for it being 55 below. Everybody has a bug-out bag in their car, and if they don't, they should be. They should. You always have emergency blankets, flares, those kind of things. North Dakota is rural, but not desolate. It's a rectangle inside of a rectangle.
Okay.
So you're always within 50 miles of some community, but at the same time, 50 miles can be an eternity when it's 30 below and there's 4 feet of snow.
You can't walk it. It's not going to happen. That's crazy. Definitely different life than us city boys over in DC. I mean, we got something?
Yeah, I got 2 questions. I think that it's fascinating to talk to people about what they read. But I think a more interesting question is, what book have you given the most to other people as a gift, and why?
Oh, I don't know. We live in the digital age, so it's more of recommendations.
Sure. What is the book that
recently it's been...
And why?
Charles Krauthammer's The Point of It All. I think it's fantastic. I think his son's eulogy at the end is... I'm not a big crier. My wife and I will debate whether I cried or not, but I definitely teared up a little bit reading the eulogy.
Tell us about the
book. Because
it's
a book. It's really just a book of short columns by Charles Krauthammer, and I think his, he was a psychologist before he got into politics, and outside of just being one of, I think, the best conservative minds in a generation. That doesn't mean I agree with him all the time, But it's just a book of his short columns, and I think he cuts to the quick pretty quick on a lot of things because you write it for column space. Yeah. But I think the real reason to read it is to read his son's eulogy and how. I mean, when you deal with somebody who had that big of an impact on, the discussions that go on, and then to realize how his family thought about that, I think is pretty moving. Anything by Teddy Roosevelt or anything about Teddy Roosevelt, I will recommend to everybody. Teddy Roosevelt's Hunting Africa books I've recommended to a lot of people.
Cool. Yeah, I see the theme in the hunting.
Yeah.
I want to circle back around on this idea of influence, kind of in dispensing advice. So
I forgot. I got to back up.
Yeah, go.
The thing I have recommended for most people to read ever is Mike Matheny's Coaching Manifesto. When he started coaching, I used to wear a shirt that said "Thank God for Little League Baseball. It keeps Little League parents off the streets." If I ever write a book, it's going to be about the youth sports industrial complex. It's never going to be about Congress.
Okay.
I challenge anybody in the world to go ask a 30-year-old what their 10-year-old travel record was, because they will not know. But man, when you go to a lot of baseball games, you see a 10-year-old travel team and you'd think it was the Game 7 of the World Series. Right. It drives me nuts. I love competitive, but we forget the developmental part of competitive. And so Mike Matheny's Coaching Manifesto is something every parent should read before their kid is in any sport. Baseball for sure, but any travel sport.
Yeah, we'll put a synopsis of that in the notes. That sounds really interesting. I'll have to look forward to get a little summary of that. So within that,
he just told me I had to read this book. Did you pick up on this? He just slyly said, "Hey, you need to read this."
It's not really a book. It's just a pretty good. It should be the Bible for every youth athlete, and youth parent.
All right, I love it.
So, what is the advice that you would give to? How old are you now?
42.
Okay, we're gonna split the difference.
Okay.
All right, so 21.
Yeah.
All right. What advice would you give right now to your 21-year-old self?
Marry that girl you just met, that you just saw walking into the law school at University of North Dakota.
Oh, that's adorable. That's
That's
adorable.
really sweet. Okay. All right. Well, so
by the way, I married her.
There you go.
Nice.
That's good.
But it feels like the advice not necessary. What's the advice that maybe you wish you had gotten when you were 21?
I don't know. People always look back at how they do things. I would be pretty comfortable reliving my life exactly the same way it was.
Oh, that's
I worked
awesome.
hard. I played hard. I got lucky and met the love of my life and married her. I transferred. I went to law school somewhere on the East Coast. Transferred back to North Dakota. I
do it all over again.
Roll with the punches would be the advice, because you don't know what's happening.
Okay. I got one more on top of this then.
Yeah.
All right. So, speaking of advice, what is the worst advice you've been given, or that you hear being dispensed in your field?
You got to be careful how you vote for that, because you're running for re-election. It's the worst advice you can give to anybody. Politics is more volatile now than it's ever been, but good policy is always good politics. And if you're scared of your next election, you are not good at your job.
So that's a lot of things you hear. People come, they're freshmen, they get told that, and that's just, you think it's garbage.
I do. I think
I like it.
Go vote the way you should vote. Vote your district. Vote your conscience. Try and do the right thing and stand by your principles.
I love it.
Cool.
I love it.
What you got, Steve?
All right. So the state beverage is milk.
Really? I thought it was beer.
No, it's milk. So I got a question. How does as a milk connoisseur then, what is your feeling on Yoo-Hoo? Is this chocolate milk or is it chocolate drink? And I want to be honest, I love Yoo-Hoo. I want it to be accepted as milk.
I think I've had one Yoo-Hoo in my life and I didn't like it. So I have no opinion on Yoo-Hoo other than I'm assuming it's not milk.
It's not. It's not milk. It's chocolate drink. But I love it so much. All right. So these are 3 foods that I have never heard of, and I am going to have a hard time pronouncing them. You might need to help me out. And I want you to tell me if you're going to never eat them again. This is one that you would eat sometimes, and then one that you must eat always. So,
all right.
So one is called a Knoephla?
Knoephla soup.
Knoephla.
As often as you can have it. Jack's restaurant in Dickinson has the best Knoephla soup in the entire world.
What is Knoephla?
What is Knoephla soup? I've never.
It's a dumpling soup, and it is like love in a bowl.
What? Love in a bowl.
Is there anywhere in DC we can get
Hashtag love in a bowl? Yes. Can we get Knoephla?
I have no idea. I have not found it in DC.
Ooh.
Oh man! Every time I have one of these questions, there's nothing.
There's
in DC.
nothing in DC.
All right. Okay. So this one, goulash.
Goulash is a casserole. Each family makes it differently, so it can be great, it can be not as great. Kind of generally how your cooking is how your goulash will be.
Can you describe maybe some tenets of goulash?
It usually has macaroni noodles, usually has hamburger, usually has stewed tomatoes, and it's something that you could... This is what you do when you have a big family and everybody's busy. You can make it, and if you make enough of it, you can eat it for like a week, and it's one of those foods that's better, or as good warmed up.
It's like a staple.
Yeah, so it's
hearty.
It's casserole food. It's comfort food. It's perfect for those 20 below days.
Okay.
I love it. The last one I'm really having a hard time with. It's
Fleischkikla.
He knew exactly what it was going to be.
It is a German. It is a German thing with a pastry around. Sometimes it's a beef patty. Sometimes it's ground beef inside. They are also Fleischkikla.
Fleischkikla.
So eastern part of North Dakota is very Norwegian. Western part of North Dakota is more German, more diverse. And Fleischkikla is something that you will actually see on a lot of diner menus across the state, and it's actually pretty good.
Sorry. So you have the always is the Knoephla, the sometimes is going to be the what, and then the never is what. I know that you like them all. You gotta categorize them.
Of those three?
Yeah.
Always. Sometimes I would eat all three.
No, but you had to pick one.
Then I would probably go never with goulash.
Okay.
Just because, like I said, it's touch and go. Cooking depends on how you generally cook it. If you're bad at cooking other things, you're going to be bad at cooking goulash.
Got it. But Fleischkikla is all right. Got it.
Also, this isn't political, but the best protest sign I've ever seen is when President Trump was in North Dakota. A protester, like a block and a half away, because we even protest politely in North Dakota, had a sign that said Trump hates Knoephla.
And that's like how could he? I see. I like it. All right. So I'm gonna get into some headlines real quick. All right.
Sure.
All right. So the guy came back from a vacation. All right. He comes home. He's been gone for a while. His house has been broken into. The only way he knows his house has been broken into is because the floors are vacuumed. His house has been cleaned up. His dishes have been cleaned. His beds are made. And he's like, it's real weird, but nothing was taken, so I guess I'm fine. So I want to think about another crime that might be like a benefit to somebody. What's something that maybe you could think of? Like, man, I wish someone would do this to me. It would be such a favor.
One of the old jokes is, right, I had somebody steal my credit card, but I told them to keep it because they were spending less than my wife was.
That's pretty good. I like that.
That's good. Well, what about you?
I think for me, I would love it if someone I get in my car and my oil change has been done and the car has been detailed. I think that'd be pretty nice.
Clean the car?
Yeah. They took it for a spin, but they brought it back full tank, oil change. I think it'd be nice.
If someone stole my identity and uploaded and scanned all my expense receipts,
that'd be so nice.
Thank that criminal. I would say thank you very much.
We actually had somebody we talked about winters before, that got stuck and ended up staying in our cabin north of Medora when I was a kid, and they left $50 on the table because they stayed there and drank some coffee and took some of the frozen food. So I thought that was pretty nice.
That is nice. So you come back to your cabin, there's $50 on the table, some
and a note saying we got stranded, we stayed here overnight, we're really sorry, with their name and number.
That's like the most polite thing I've ever heard.
I like
That's
that.
North Dakota home invasion.
I love that. Okay, last one from me. So some scientists have been making cheese. And they've been exposing the cheese to different types of music. One of which was Tribe Called Quest's song "We Got It From Here." Okay, here's what's interesting: the cheeses had different flavor profiles. In fact, some of the scientists said, or the tasters said, the differences were very clear, and in terms of texture, taste, and appearance, they were very different. The strongest of these, in terms of smell and taste, was hip hop. Apparently, the hip hop cheese is the best cheese. So I want to know, what are some other music genres you think we should experiment with cheese that you think might really help things? Or a song maybe that you love that maybe would really help?
Outlaw country, real country. I think it would taste like it sounds, which is fantastic, old-fashioned, and still pretty kick-ass.
Some old country music. I love it. I love
Tyler Childers, Sturgill Simpson.
Some kick-ass cheese.
Yeah, I like that.
That's very interesting. You're serious? Scientists are exposing...
Yes.
Oh my gosh!
I actually have two questions left of you.
If they got a federal grant for that,
I've got. Yeah, go.
You want to keep going? Or you
go for one more.
Go for one more. All right. So apparently, you guys race lawnmowers in North Dakota.
Can get a DUI on a lawnmower.
Yeah. Apparently, they got lawnmowers that go 60 miles an hour.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's another household object we need to be souping up and racing against people? What's one we need to?
I don't know if you can soup it up, but when we were in college, we took rolling bar chairs and we sponsored them with whatever other beer we were drinking. It was a snow day at school.
Yeah.
So one back of the chair would have a Coors Light label on it, one back of the Bud Light, and it had a big horseshoe bar, and we'd race around the bar. And this all started at I think we started our first race at 12:30.
That's amazing.
By 1:15, they had asked us to leave the bar.
So you think you need to expand this? There's an opportunity.
Yeah, soup it up, man. And what you need to do is you need to recruit somebody who's, got some pretty good upper body strength.
Right.
It looks like they can move a little because you got to maneuver the guy in the chair.
Got it.
I feel like it sounds like
this isn't so much souped up as have a really athletic friend.
It feels like curling but racing in some ways. Like you're pushing this thing as a team.
I joined a curling league in college because they had 50-cent Busch Lights and a vending machine.
I love that. All right, go ahead, man.
All right. So I'm really into this idea of mantras and quotes to live by. So I'm put you on the hot seat right now. If you could put one quote on a billboard in Times Square for the world to see, what would it say?
That's a tough one. Roll with the punches.
All right. Okay, excellent. And what is and that's your quote. I like that. So, what is one of your favorite quotes or mantras from another person, or that's been told to you that you live by, or that you think is something that's helped you, and who is it attributed to, and why is it important?
Well, I've got a famous one, which is Teddy Roosevelt's "Man in the Arena." I was a criminal defense attorney for 10 years. It definitely is a quote that when you live in a small town in a small state and you do the kind of work I did, and that's before I got into politics, you're always going to have critics. Mm-hmm. I think it's a fantastic quote. Probably my favorite quote I ever got was from my best friend and business partner's father, who was also a criminal defense attorney. And he looked at me and he said, "Kelly, at the end of a lot of your trials, somebody's going to go to jail. Make sure it's not you."
I like that. I like that.
The lightning round?
I got one more, and then we'll do the lightning round.
Hit it.
So I think as a digital generation, we see lots of people who engage in a topic, and then they learn about that topic, and they end up changing their opinion or changing their mind.
Really? I feel like that's not accurate at all.
So I'm curious, what have you changed your mind on in the last few years, and why? What's something that maybe you thought, and then you learned a little bit more about it, and you changed your view on, and why?
Oh, lots of different things. When you do what we do every day, if you walk in before you're educated about it and aren't willing to keep an open mind, you're not going to be very good at this job. I was in the state senate before too. So I think one of the things I've changed my mind the most on is value-added egg. That sounds really silly, but until you really learn the economics of the agriculture industry and the different factors that go into it, when you're talking about incentives or subsidies or whatever, whether it's ethanol, biodiesel, those types of things, we're food and energy secure in this country, and we should continue to be food and energy secure. And a big way to stay food and energy secure is to make sure we still have a bunch of family farmers, not just in North Dakota, but all over the country. And we develop policies so you people on the East Coast never have to spend $7 on a loaf of bread, and that's good policy. But at the same time, that manipulates the free market when you're growing it at home in North Dakota. So I've changed my mind on a lot of bigger ag policy issues.
Interesting.
Because you learn more about them.
I love that.
All right. Well, yeah. All right. So now we're ready for the rapid fire. All right. So these questions, you're gonna just answer them as fast as you possibly can. All
sure.
right? So we got 5.
Okay.
All right. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Fireman.
Fireman. What animal do you most identify with?
Honey badger.
Oh, yes. Okay. If you had to pick a flower that best characterized you as a person, what would it be?
I don't know, canola flower, because it looks cool in Western North Dakota.
Canola flower. Okay. What nickname does your close friends or your mother or your colleagues call you that no one else may know about?
Army.
Army?
They call you Army.
Oh, you gotta explain that.
My last name's Armstrong.
My
uncle's nickname was Army, so I never had it, but in college, nobody knew my uncle, so a lot of my friends called me Army.
I love it.
All right, now, if you were going to...
My wife calls me Princess.
Okay, so there's a wrestling... We're going to stick with Robin Hood. Okay, if there's a wrestling match between the following two comic book characters...
Oh, boy.
Who wins? Ready? Go.
Flash and Batman.
A wrestling match?
Yeah.
Flash. Batman has no skills other than he's rich.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah, I think he's right. I mean, you're faster than light. It's pretty hard to wrestle against that.
Fair enough. You have completed the rapid fire round. So now we'd like to take the remaining time. We got about 5 minutes or so.
No, we have like a minute.
Because I'm not going to burn 5 minutes.
You have a minute. Whatever you want, uninterrupted. The platform's yours. Go for it.
Yeah. Tell us about something you're passionate about, or whatever you want to talk about. The floor is yours.
I think the thing I'm most passionate about, I love the outdoors, obviously, but I think the most I'm passionate about, the first time I ever came to DC was in Close-Up when I was in high school. You mentioned earlier I'm in the American Legion Baseball Hall of Fame, North Dakota, but it's as a coach and a fundraiser. My favorite thing in the world to do is to coach and or talk to kids from 8 until 21. I think they have, every time I have a bad day in DC, I always check my calendar to find out when I have a group of high school or college kids from North Dakota coming out here, because they make me feel better about the job we're doing and things like that. And then I think the other answer that I would tell everybody from the Get Off My Lawn crowd is kids haven't changed. We've changed. Kids are the same as they were 50 years ago. How we develop, how we parent, how we do things is not, we've done a lot of great things and we've evolved a lot. I think one thing is this generation's dads are way more actively involved in their life than and do more things.
That's cool.
But I think kids are tougher and smarter than we give them credit for, and it's our job to make sure that they figure out how to navigate this crazy world. So that's my favorite part of the job. Favorite part of this job is absolutely talking to high school and college kids, and mostly because they really give me hope. We're in a pretty cynical town, and we're in a pretty cynical profession, and the more time you can spend with young adults, the better off you're going to be for it.
I like that. Awesome. I like that. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the time.
Perfect.
Thanks for listening to Coffee with Congress. That was an awesome time getting to know Congressman Armstrong and learning a little bit more about bees, where they vacation, and about why North Dakotans love storms. Subscribe to our podcast anywhere you get your podcast. We are everywhere. Leave us a review. Let us know how we're doing. Remember, the Veterans Education Project is always preaching possibilities.